So the first thing, Jasmine and myself, Jasmine's been helping me along this process. First thing we did was approach agents. We chose 3 agents which were part of the review and submitted a lot of work to ourselves. No. And we presented ourselves at their offices for a meeting. So we just did something completely different and went to them for a change which they'd never had before and quite actually liked. And I asked for a completely honest opinion of where do you think the failings are, what is it that really gets you going, basically. Please be honest with me. So we had that really upfront conversation right on day one. Yes, and that was really helpful because a lot of what I thought were maybe issues weren't their main gripes with us, and they had a lot of communication issues was one of the main things that came across. So Jasmine and myself took note of that, and when we came back to look at a system that would kind of help improve communication and get a better relationship with them, we were working through, okay, so if I am a customer or an agent, I put my application in, what is my journey with Melton Borough Council? Who do I speak to? Where do I go to? At what point does somebody say hello? So we went through this, and it was really disappointing because it's probably about week 4 that as a customer you'd get an email to say, yeah, we've got your application, you're in a queue basically. And I just kind of sat there and went, oh, okay, fine, that's not great. But so what we kind of looked at is introducing communication early and personal communication, because over the years we've somehow become customer blind. We rely on an external mailbox, which is a generic email address. We rely on a duty officer, which is a generic telephone number. At no point do you get something that says Louise Parker is your case officer, this is her email, this is her telephone number. Not until you're way, way, way down in the actual process. So to us that was a bit, okay, there's an issue. So what we've looked at really is, in a new way of working, having somebody which picks up an application on day 1 and they run with it cradle to grave. So they take ownership of that, they take responsibility of that, they take that relationship from day 1. The most fundamental thing we've found is actually introducing a telephone call. So once the officer's got that application, they pick up the phone and say, hi Mr Orson, I've got your application, I'm your case officer, this is your reference number, we're going out on site, we've got everything, is there anything you need from me, is there anything you need to tell me?
Are you going to make sure the officer at that point has everything they need, literally everything? I mean, it's things like surveys and things which to the developer seems to be used to delay any determination later on. So let's take an easy one, a bat survey. So you have a conversion, 200-year-old building, it's obviously going to need a bat survey.
Yeah.
So that bat survey will be asked for at the validation stage, because it hasn't been in the past, has it?
If we're aware, and this is where we would like, I'm kind of jumping around a bit here, but one of the things we would like to do is a flexible system. So it allows for actually looking at an application and asking for what is necessary for that application. So rather than, I think we've got a tick box at the minute, which is if you are outside of Melton and you're doing something within a roof, you will have to have a survey. Now we've got new developments popping up here, there and everywhere, and our automatic trigger requires bat surveys for something that was probably built 4 or 5 years ago, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. So what we would like to do is have a very simple system that allows something to progress very, very quickly, but allows you to make adjustments and change something for that specific application. So like you say, if you need a survey, and the person who's going to be dealing with the application will be the person that's validating it. So it will be their application. They will own this piece of work and they will make that decision and say, do you know what, I'm going to need this, I'm going to ask for it now.
So at the point of validation, even if the survey hasn't been done, it's been requested, etc.
Yes.
At that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And another thing as well, what we've been looking at through our experiment and testing is actually applications that will have previously been made invalid. So you get your application as a customer, you've submitted your application, you've not heard anything for maybe 3 weeks. The next you get is an email from the duty officer which says, oh, you need to submit a red and blue plan. Please submit this within 14 days, else we'll basically destroy your application. And you're thinking, oh, so you've had it 3 weeks, I've still not got anywhere. But you submit your plan because you've been asked to do so. What you don't know as a customer is once you or your application has been made invalid, you've been put in the back of a box and you'll have to wait your turn once again.
Okay.
So you're always in a queue and you're always a reference number. You know, we don't know you're Mr. Illingworth and you've got a really urgent piece of work for us because you've got family circumstances, things are happening. We don't know any of that because you're reference number 004 and you're sat in a box for 4 or 5 weeks. We don't know that you need this decision ASAP for whatever reason. So we want to build something that allows us to have that communication, to take on board your personal circumstances, to get to know you, and actually will also allow things to happen quicker, because for validation, what Jasmine and I have done through the process of experimentation is we've still taken things along. So even if you haven't annotated a plan correctly, we can still process your application, we can still carry on. It's not stopping us continuing with the service we provide. So we're running with it, and on the phone call to you at day 1, 2, we're saying to you, right, okay, we do need this plan from you, we're going to carry on, it's fine. If you can get it to us in the next week or so, that'd be fantastic. It's not stopping anywhere.